Alright guys, so while the newest update to Manor Lords completely reshapes the world in the game with AI towns, new maps, and deeper systems, combat has stayed mostly the same. It's been a long time since battles in Manor Lords got any real attention, and right now they're the part of the game that feels most in need of an upgrade, especially with the addition of garrisonable walls, upgradable castles, and actual AI presence. It feels like all the groundwork is being laid right now for something much bigger. In this video, I want to break down where battles stand today in the game, what's missing, and why I think the next major update could finally bring the warfare overhaul we've all been waiting for. Now, while Manor Lords delivers some of the most grounded and cinematic medieval battles in any modern strategy game, the underlying mechanics still feel like a framework waiting to be expanded. The visuals are incredible, seeing lines of spearmen clash, archers loose volleys into the mist, and towns burn in the distance never fails to impress, but mechanically the system remains limited. Battles often boil down to straightforward engagements with few tools to express tactical creativity. The fundamentals are there, but the lack of depth in unit behavior, formations, the command options means that combat can quickly start to feel repetitive once you've mastered the basics. The most immediate area for improvement, I would say, is unit variety. Armies currently feel a bit too samey, with only minor differences between like militia, spearmen, swordsmen, archers, crossbowmen. Introducing more specialized units would transform both the feel and the strategy of warfare in the game. Heavy axemen could break through shield walls, while disciplined pikemen could hold off cavalry charges, and cavalry itself could be a defining part of late-game battles if expanded properly. Mounted knights, light scouts, shock cavalry could each fill distinct tactical roles, bringing momentum, movement, and unpredictability. Another missing piece, I would say, is the proper inclusion of siege weapons and siege mechanics. And now with castles being fully upgradable, garrisonable, you can open and close gates, fortifications look really good, siege warfare is crying out for catapults, battering rams, and siege towers. These tools would not only add a visual spectacle, but also deepen the strategic layer overall as well, forcing players to plan logistics, plan wall layouts and defensive positions, maintain supply lines, and decide whether to storm a fortress or starve them out. Siege weapons could introduce a new pacing to battles, a new layer to battles, one that emphasizes preparation and attrition just as much as the clash itself. It would tie in perfectly into the castle upgrades we've just seen in the latest update, turning them into a centerpiece of warfare gameplay. And of course, Manor Lords definitely needs a refinement of core combat mechanics, the flow of movement, the responsiveness of units, the realism of engagement. Animations often feel slightly stiff, morale is underdeveloped, fatigue doesn't really play a major role yet. Adding those layers would bring battles to life in ways that visuals alone can't. Imagine troops losing stamina after a long march, formations breaking under morale shock, or cavalry slowing to a crawl after repeated charges. Combined with more diverse units, terrain effects, siege systems, these mechanics could turn Manor Lords battles from beautiful set pieces into truly dynamic simulations of medieval warfare, grounded, brutal, and endlessly replayable. Now, what's exciting for me is that all the pieces for a true evolution of Manor Lords combat seem to be already falling into place. The latest update didn't explicitly add new battle mechanics or anything like that, but almost everything it introduced quietly supports a future where warfare becomes a much larger focus. The ability to garrison troops on castle walls and towers, manually open and close gates, upgrade fortifications adds a new layer of depth to sieges that wasn't possible before, and these systems aren't just visual, they're a mechanical groundwork and rework of what was here before. You can start to see a combat system that's ready to expand into something far more dynamic and strategic. Also, of course, the addition of AI towns changes everything. Before, Manor Lords was a solitary experience. You built your own settlements and occasionally fought bandits or mercenaries, but now, with lords actively creating settlements, developing, competing with resources, the stage is set for a real territorial conflict. These AI rivals don't just make the world feel more alive, they create a reason for war to exist beyond the player's own ambitions. Once proper conquest and diplomacy are layered on top of all these systems, every region could become a contested space, something you'll need to defend, besiege, or liberate depending on your strategy. And when that happens, the quality and depth of the battle system will become even more important than ever. And we can't forget, we're also seeing map design and terrain variety evolve in ways that directly support better combat in the future as well. The new maps like Large Lake and Devil's Hill introduce natural choke points, elevation changes, open fields perfect for cavalry maneuvers or ambushes, combined with the current region system where each zone has its own unique resources and character. This suggests a move towards tactical geography, battles that reflect the land they're fought on rather than being generic skirmish fields. If future updates give us terrain-based advantages or environmental effects, we could be looking at one of the most immersive battlefield systems ever built in a city builder strategy hybrid. For me, what's always made Manor Lords stand out more than any other game in the genre is its authenticity, not just in visuals, but in how it treats the medieval world as a believable living system. Everything you do feels tangible. You see the people you tax, the goods you produce, the homes that rise from the dirt, but in that world, conflict is inevitable. No matter how peaceful your settlement, the medieval era was defined by struggle, bandit raids, rival lords, battles for land and survival and resources. Right now, combat in Manor Lords feels like the one piece that hasn't fully caught up with the rest of the system. It is there, but it doesn't yet live within the same simulation that makes the rest of the game so captivating and authentic. A major overhaul to the battle system here could tie every part of the game together. Warfare shouldn't just be something that happens depending on the off-map AI or a random bandit raid. Everything should be a direct extension of how you've built your town and managed your people. If you've neglected your economy, your troops should go hungry. If your approval is low, levies might desert. If your smithies are thriving, your armies should have better gear. It's that sense of cause and effect that would make every battle feel personal, like the culmination of dozens of small choices made across years of play. And expanding the combat would breathe new life into the overall strategic layer as well. Regions change hands quietly right now. You expand, you claim, manage regions without much resistance, but if AI lords start to field proper large armies, raid your trade routes, siege your settlements, you'd have to suddenly think like a real ruler. Do you fortify the frontier or focus on your heartland? Do you trade peace for profit or push expansion while your enemies are weak? A smarter AI war system would turn the campaign map into a dynamic chessboard where every region has real strategic meaning. Most importantly though, better combat would reinforce the heart of what Manor Lords already is, a simulation of medieval life where power comes from land, labor, and loyalty. War was never clean or constant in that world. It was a consequence of ambition, survival, and resource control. By deepening the battle mechanics, the game could reflect that truth more fully. You'd feel the cost of every war, not just in lost soldiers, but in disrupted trade, damaged villages, drained supplies, lower public order. It would make victory more satisfying, defeat more meaningful, and peace something you could actually earn. Overall, I would say it really feels like Manor Lords is on the edge of something really big. The recent update focused heavily on main systems, economy, AI, progression, laying the groundwork for a more dynamic and interconnected world. And when you look closely at some of the features being added here, like garrisonable castles, gates, stronger fortifications, and AI lords of course, it's hard not to see the outline of a future where warfare becomes just as deep and immersive as settlement building. Essentially, battles are the missing piece that would turn Manor Lords from a great city builder into a truly complete medieval strategy game. The foundations are all there, a world that feels alive, a population that matters, that you have to take care of, and a system that ties every decision back to your leadership. Now it just needs combat that carries that same sense of weight and consequence. Seeing lines of infantry brace for a charge, cavalry wheel around for flanks, or siege engines tear through a fortress wall, all backed by meaningful morale, fatigue, and tactical nuance. All of this would bring the world of Manor Lords to life in a way nothing else could. Whether this combat update comes next or later down the line, I think it's clear the developer is building towards it. Every addition to AI behavior, castle mechanics, map design pushes the game closer to that vision, and if the battle overhaul really is coming next, it might just elevate the game to one of the best medieval strategy experiences we've ever seen. Either way, let me know what you think of the current state and future of battles in Manor Lords in the comment section below, and if you want to keep up with more Manor Lords breakdowns and video content just like this, subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.